Welcome everyone to the 87th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where I will be covering Sam Reid and Jacob Anderson. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet science aspects and if birth times available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into it. Starting off with the sun, we have Sam's sun in Aquarius and Jacob's sun in Gemini. These are both air signs. They are good friends and they share outlooks on life. They love to discuss ideas and there's an intellectual compatibility, which I imagine would be very helpful points, especially if they are working together. I believe they are both actors. So if they are working on that project together, that would be, having that ability to discuss ideas and having that sort of more intellectual, creative compatibility together would help. They share social activities and they enjoy each other's company. Their suns are trine together, so there's mutual respect and they energize each other. Again, would be helpful if they are acting together. They bring out the best in each other for that. It's not like a draining relationship where, you're not bringing out your best self on camera, They are supportive of each other and they are cooperative with each other. They accumulate wealth and luck, so I assume whatever project they have or they work on together would create a lot of money, wealth, and all of that fun stuff. They can deal with conflict in a healthy way. Sam's sun, sextile Jacob's moon. It's an easy friendship and a fulfilling relationship. So far, that seems to be the gist of the relationship. There's a natural compatibility and they are cooperative with each other, which we did just see, so that is repeated. Jacob trusts Sam's wisdom and Sam depends on Jacob's support. Jacob's sun trines Sam's moon. There is honest communication, which we did see they share outlooks on life. So I feel like there would be a bit, if they do share, values and all of that together, views together, it would be easier for them to have that honest communication. Jacob relies on Sam's support and Sam relies on Jacob's wisdom, which we did just see they both rely on each other for that. It's a naturally cooperative relationship and Sam tends to be dependent on Jacob. Okay. They both feel they can rely on each other, but there seems to be something with Sam being a bit more dependent. So we'll see a bit more. Jacob's sun, sextile Sam's Mars. They motivate each other, which does coincide with how they energize each other. They give each other space and they have different hobbies. So we did see that they share social activities together. So I assume the hobbies they do share would be outside of social activities. Jacob admires Sam's drive and they can further the other's goals. Definitely seems that way if they do accumulate wealth when they are working together. They both give the other confidence and they participate in activities together, which we did see right in the beginning, those social activities. So I assume it would be those. They are straightforward with each other. We see with the honest communication again. Neither feels blocked and they tend to get annoyed with each other. So far, because this has all been very nice so far, which I'm kind of jinxing myself. Every time I say that, it automatically, we go into a U-turn and it all goes bad. But from what we have seen so far, very, nice, cooperative. They seem to work well together and all of that. The only thing we have seen where I think they could get annoyed with each other is with Sam being dependent on Jacob. Potentially that could be irritating to Jacob, but we will see more, I guess, hopefully relating to this. Jacob's sun squares Sam's Jupiter. They have different values, so I assume this would be different in terms of their outlooks on life. We saw they shared those, so potentially in a different way they have those different values. They may overindulge each other and excess is from good intention. Sam has the ability to cheer up Jacob and there's a strong desire to make each other happy. They both may expect too much from the relationship and they both encourage the other to self-indulge and be impractical. Okay, I mean, they have the means, it seems like, to be overindulgent and everything, so Jacob's sun opposite Sam's Saturn. Sam has the habit of parenting Jacob, which a note to make, so far with what we're seeing, it seems like Sam is a bit more invested in the relationship, particularly with how we did see he is dependent on Jacob. So yeah, that's the sort of dynamic that seems to be forming here. And it's in a weird way, isn't it? Because we're seeing, dependent on Jacob, but also parents Jacob. So as far as I am reading this anyway so far, it seems like, he just seems to be a bit more involved. Hopefully we'll see a bit more like leaning towards one way or another. It's a relationship of duty and obligation. I mean, it kind of is. If they are working together, there is a duty to that. Jacob's identity may become suppressed. Jacob feels blocked and discouraged by Sam, and Sam has the tendency to criticize and nag Jacob. We did see earlier how they both, give each other space and neither feel really blocked. That could be in different ways. But it seems to be a bit more on sort of Sam that he has that freedom, because he's like Jacob's identity being suppressed. It's not a way to have freedom, is it, when your identity is suppressed and all of that. Sam's sun opposite Jacob's Uranus. Separation occurs. I assume it would be like when they're not working together, because so far with what we are seeing, it seems like they do have a good like friendship foundation, but it seems to be a bit more like work related. Like there's nothing particularly like super warm and tender about this. We're seeing that they energize each other, and they have like that, basic fulfilling friendship. They can be honest with each other. Nothing particularly to suggest they are really close and have a deep relationship, So I assume separation would occur. Like, why would they have to speak to each other when they're not working together, if that makes sense? It's an exciting relationship, and the relationship starts quickly. Jacob finds Sam to be insensitive. I mean, this would obviously have to be like when Sam is criticizing and nagging him. Maybe he can come off as being insensitive. Jacob feels burdened, and Sam will likely feel trapped by Jacob over time. This is weird. Like, it's like so far, he seems to be a lot more invested in this relationship, Sam does. We are just seeing different things. So I really wonder, maybe he's confused of how he's feeling in this relationship, but overall he feels like quite invested in this. Hopefully we'll see a bit more in terms of one area. So now it's time for moon. We have Sam's moon in Scorpio and Jacob's moon in Aries. These are both ruled by Mars in traditional astrology. They are drawn to each other's passionate natures, and they can have vicious fights. Oh no. Sam's deep emotions makes Jacob uncomfortable. The way I'm interpreting this here, considering everything, maybe he's sort of like deep investment and how he's emotionally tied to this relationship. They both have strong emotional responses, and Jacob's feelings are more simple than Sam's. Their moons are opposite to each other, so there's contrasting emotional needs. So maybe like when we saw different values, maybe they value different things emotionally. Excellent communication is needed, which with what we have seen already, I feel like they do. Like it seems honest, and like they are able to have that, conversation together. It's difficult to be in sync, and certain habits will be unbearable for the other. Sam's moon is square Jacob's Saturn. Sam feels emotionally insecure, which could explain why he's a bit more invested in this relationship. Possibility of an awkward relationship. It only seems to be awkward because, they both I don't want to say they both feel trapped, but, Jacob seems to feel, uncomfortable, a bit, criticized and nagged and just irritated by Sam. Whereas Sam, he seems to have more conflicting feelings with how he is invested in this relationship. Sam feels judged by Jacob, and Jacob sees Sam as needy and oversensitive. So, okay, maybe he's just a bit more on the dependent, needy side. And Sam feeling judged by Jacob, Jacob seems to also feel quite judged by him, if he's constantly getting criticized and nagged by Sam. You could see this as just Sam simply being an insecure person, and maybe he takes out his insecurities on other people. Jacob's moon conjunct Sam's Mars. They both feel more creative together. See, this is a thing that has come up in this reading that I really like. They seem to feel very creative together and inspired by the other in that way. It's an emotional relationship, and over time Jacob finds Sam insensitive. Yeah, that seems to be a thing. They're involved in each other's lives, and sometimes Jacob wishes Sam was more committed. I don't think in their relationship, I feel like this will be work-wise or something, because there is no way. It seems like Jacob is already irritated with Sam. I feel like his neediness and his dependency, I don't feel like that would, help that. Sam can make Jacob feel insecure, not surprisingly so. Jacob's desire for closeness makes Sam feel limited. He seems to be confused. Sam 100% seems very confused with here. Like, we are seeing it lean towards, Sam is just needy and dependent. But it still seems to be a bit of like confusion, because if he is invested in this, he should be happy with Jacob wanting that closeness. I would also like to see a bit more on Jacob's end in the terms of like closeness, because we did see that Jacob feels a bit more burdened and blocked and all of that, but that could potentially be just when it comes to the criticizing from Sam's end, rather than like I'm burdened because I'm close to you, if that makes sense. Now for the intermission, this video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the reading. Jacob's moon trines Sam's Saturn. Building on past traditions is important, and it's a stable relationship. Potential for accumulating wealth, we have already seen that, and it makes sense. Sam prioritizes domestic life. Maybe this is where there is that sort of conflict, because we did see how Jacob wishes Sam was more committed. Maybe it actually is just an indicator of like more committed to the like whatever a project they have going on. Because if Sam prioritizes domestic life, that would be taking away from time like with Jacob on the project and all of that. Jacob sees Sam as mature, and Sam is accountable with Jacob, which Jacob seeing Sam as mature goes back to how Sam has the tendency to be like sort of parent figure for Jacob. Sam's desire for commitment is appealing to Jacob. So there definitely seems to be an element of Jacob wanting that sort of commitment, because I know we did see before like Jacob's desire for closeness. I feel like you could interpret that as Jacob's desire for commitment makes Sam feel limited, because Sam seems to be the confused one here. And Jacob, I feel like he seems to be very consistent in terms of he wants commitment from Sam. It seems like in a more career sense, like wanting him to be a bit more, on set and whatever that may be. Sam finds it difficult to be emotionally caring. I don't know if I'm wrong to interpret this way, but let me know what you guys think. To me, considering everything, I feel like Sam seems to be a bit more on the insecure side when it comes to things, purely considering that we have seen Sam to be a bit more emotional, and he seems to like want a lot of things out of Jacob but isn't able to like provide them, if that makes sense. Like, he is very emotional and everything, but isn't, capable of being emotional caring for others. And like he seems to want to put, and Sam seems to want to put a lot of like effort into this relationship. He seems quite invested, but also is a bit like, do I really want that in return? Do I really want to also bring that? And Sam also seems to want to desire like commitment. He seems to be quite, putting effort into this relationship and being dependent and all of that. But it seems like when that is, kind of reciprocated, he doesn't like that. And there just seems to be a lot of like, Sam doesn't seem to know what he wants. And I wonder if that is coming from a place of insecurity and not being able to provide that. There's something not there. They can achieve mutual long-term goals together, which we did see. Jacob's moon trines Sam's Uranus. They both feel free to express themselves, which this, coming up again, they seem to be quite creatively open around each other, able to be themselves around the other in a work career sense, artistic sense. Sam is more open around Jacob, and ideas of unconventional domestic setup bring them together. It's weird how we're seeing domestic again twice. I wonder, like, even if, like, doesn't really matter if it is like a movie or TV show, because they can both be quite like long to film on. Definitely TV more than the other if it is, you know, successful and all of that. But I do wonder if they have like a family or partner outside of this, because like this to me is like colleague relationship. I don't even want to entertain that they're like secretly together and all of that, because I'm pretty sure one of them does have a spouse or partner outside of this. So I wonder if like both of them maybe have some kind of situation where they do kind of bring in, you know, their partners to or families to set. Whether in whatever way that may be, like they move closer to set with their family partner, whatever that is. I wonder if that is something that brings them together, because that is a unique situation to be in, like because of you, like your family has to kind of relocate for you. Hopefully that made sense. But it is where I, you know, considering their dynamic, I can see it going, unless it is some kind of like, I don't know, childhood thing or whatever. But it seems like domestic thing, especially considering that Sam prioritizes domestic life. That seems to be, it seems to be a bit more like present, so to speak, rather than like a past thing. Hopefully it made sense there. They can cope with sudden changes together, and there is a level of unpredictability. Sam feels safe around Jacob, and they enjoy talking about social issues. So I assume this is another area where they do share those values. So it seems like in a work-wise sense and also social sense. And in the beginning, we did see worldviews as well. That seems to be where they share those values and everything, but otherwise, it seems to be not great. Mutual friends may bring them together. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Sam's Mercury in Pisces and Jacob's Mercury in Gemini. These are both mutable signs. Conflict between Jacob's detachment and Sam's attachment. I see that. Like, I mean, we have seen a lot more on Sam's end that he's a bit more attached. He seems confused, but attached. Sam can be impatient with Jacob's excessive analysis. So they both seem to have, I don't want to say an issue, but like they both seem to have the tendency to be a bit more critical, judgmental of the other, because we have seen it on both ends already. Neither are self-centered. Their Mercuries are squared together, so they have a contrasting approach to life. So I feel like how they approach life outside of their work, I feel like that seems to be a bit more of an issue. I feel like that is like the main issue it seems like they have here. It's difficult to work together. I don't think so. Considering everything we have seen so far, I feel like they do have a pretty good working relationship. Potentially, it could be in a long-term sense, maybe working together for a long time. Hopefully, we'll see a bit more. They need to make an effort to be tolerant of each other. It is difficult to have a harmonious relationship. I feel like in some ways, especially if they are quite like critical of each other. And I think for, particularly on Sam's end, he seems to be a bit more like confused as to where he stands, and maybe this is just the thing in all of his relationships, not just with Jacob, where he just has a bit of difficulty kind of like making up his mind where he stands and what he wants out of a relationship, you know, because that doesn't really make it easier for him, neither does it for Jacob. There's a difference in opinions and they have frustrating debates. They both feel they cannot get along with each other. I wonder, like, I'm really curious as to like the sort of circumstances around the set, if that makes sense. Like, if it was a TV show where it was a long-term thing and potentially there was some relocation related to it before they were filming, and maybe like when they were first, you know, met outside of like the work set, if that makes sense, they just didn't feel they can get along together, because it seems like in that context there is issues there. They think the other is wrong. Sam's Mercury trine Jacob's Jupiter. Jacob is enthusiastic about Sam's thoughts and ideas, and they have positive and inspiring conversations. Going back to how we did see that they are able to discuss things together, have that intellectual compatibility. They have a strong friendship, and Jacob introduces Sam to new ways of thinking. Jacob can be too lenient with Sam, and they have an optimistic meeting. Sam helps Jacob with self-expression, so I would interpret this as like with their sort of acting and how they actually express themselves. Business together is advantageous, we're seeing again, and they enjoy traveling together, and they come from different cultures. Maybe this is the issue with the whole domestic life thing. Maybe because of their different cultures, they just have very different lifestyles they don't necessarily agree with, but that could be a factor. Sam's Mercury sextile Jacob's Neptune. They have easy communication and they share creative interests, obviously. They both enjoy talking about art streams and spirituality, and they just get each other. I feel like in the career sense, like creative sense, they do. Otherwise, Sam's Mercury, Trine Jacob's Pluto. They have deep conversation, and there's a revealing of deep dark secrets here. Okay. Healing negative beliefs about relationships, and Jacob helps Sam open his mind. I really hope so. Someone needs to help Sam, because he does not seem to be doing well for whatever that reason is. Like, I'm interpreting this like likely it is a bit coming from some kind of insecurity, but whatever it is, Sam needs help. Therapist-patient relationship, yeah, I hope Sam is the patient, because, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like he kind of is a bit more, like, open. We did see open around Jacob, but he seems to be, like quite invested in this. And he seems to be quite, like, fond of Jacob. They get to the bottom of matters and they feel very close together. They resolve difficult issues together. Jacob appreciates Sam's humor and easygoing nature. So now it's time for Venus. We have Sam's Venus in Capricorn and Jacob's Venus in Taurus. These are both earth signs. They are interested in their differences. Not the worst thing. Like, I feel like this could be good, particularly if it is like to help them sort of have a bit more of a stable relationship. And a bit more of like a consistent relationship. Like, it's not just on set they get along, they can generally get along outside as well. They share common goals and values, and they agree on how to spend money. It's a comfortable and safe relationship, and Sam likely wears the pants in the sense that he's more invested in this relationship. And I guess you could say if he is a bit more of that parent type person, Sam sees Jacob as too complacent. Sam's Venus square Jacob's Mars. There is jealousy and possessiveness, and Sam sees Jacob as dominant. I wonder in what way. Like, we really haven't seen anything when it comes to like the power dynamic at all, really. So I wonder if we'll see a bit more. The only way I could see this like happening, maybe like Jacob has a bit more sort of like status in the industry, maybe a bit more experience or something like that. Sam's Venus opposite Jacob's Jupiter. It's a promising relationship, and they both have a problem with promising more than they can give. In a way, I guess, I mean, we haven't really seen any sort of like dishonesty at all, really. So the only thing I can really connect this to is like the overindulgence thing, but there wasn't a lot of conflict when it came to overindulgence at all. They share an optimistic life together. I feel like, when they are working together, they seem to do so. I wonder if their characters do or something like that. They are generous with each other. Sam's Venus conjunct Jacob's Neptune. Sam is sensitive to Jacob's needs. I wonder in what way, because, no offense to Sam, he seems to be a bit more sort of like clingy and everything, and not very sensitive to Jacob at all, because if he is pretty critical and like Jacob seems to be upset about it, like, why do you continue doing it? Jacob may ghost Sam. Honestly, like, he seems, I think earlier we did see like a bit more sort of deteriorating factors on his end. Like, over time he finds him more insensitive and irritating. Jacob may ghost Sam, which I'm not really surprised, because we did see like over time he gets a bit more like irritated and finds him to be insensitive. So not really surprising, is it? It's not a practical relationship, and Sam may project his ideals onto Jacob. He seriously, like, with all respect to Sam, I feel like he seems to be quite conflicted here. He seems to be a bit more troubled. Like, I just hope he, is doing something to help himself out, because I don't feel like he's doing the best from this reading. Jacob initially encourages Sam to have an idealized image of him. No, Over time, Jacob feels pressured to keep up with Sam's image of him. So again, another sort of deteriorating factor on Jacob's end. Like, over time, his opinion seems to really change. Sam needs to learn to look past Jacob's faults. I guess that's how he would like see them, you know, in his way, because we did see he's quite critical of him. Sam appreciates Jacob's imagination, and Jacob is easily charmed by Sam, which might be why, you know, he is a bit more, I don't want to say lenient, but it seems like over time he kind of wakes up to the issue, if that makes sense. Sam's Venus sextile Jacob's Pluto. It is unlikely to go stale and routine, which we did see a bit about, like, you know, unpredictability. It's an exciting relationship, but I feel like that makes sense. It's emotionally fulfilling. Honestly, for who? Like, we haven't seen a lot of emotional factors in this. And I don't feel like either of them seem to be quite emotionally fulfilled. Hopefully, like, as an end result, because it seems like there is an end to this relationship considering Jacob. Hopefully, like, towards the end, maybe Sam is a bit more emotionally fulfilled. Both see disagreements as a way to understand the other person more. I really hope so, because, you know, that is nice. And, like, with what we have seen, like, to be fair, you know, they seem to be able to have, like, honest communications, and they do also have those disagreements. But they do seem to be able to, like, you know, get to the bottom of matters. I think we did see that, though. So now it's time for Mars. We have both their Mars signs in Aries. So there's an unstable relationship, kind of like the whole exciting, it's unpredictable and all of that. There's a potential to be productive. I feel like there is. It seems to be productive. That is something positive in this relationship. They get easily irritated with each other. I mean, it seems to be a bit more on Jacob's end, but I feel like on both ends, considering that they both seem to be a bit more critical of each other. Sam's Mars square Jacob's Saturn. Sam tries to impress Jacob, and Jacob's standards are in conflict with Sam's efforts. Yeah, like, I think this is just another indicator that Sam's to be putting a bit more sort of effort into the relationship, a bit more attached, and Jacob seems to be more detached. Jacob may try to control Sam as he thinks he is immature. Interesting, because I think we did see how, like, Sam is the more mature one, I think. So interesting that he views him that way. Jacob's Mars square Sam's Neptune. Circumstances in meeting were never understood by one of the partners. I mean, we've seen a couple indicators of the meeting. Honestly, that was, for me, not really a focus in this reading. I feel like there was a lot more to dive into rather than, like, the meeting. But maybe it would make sense, because there seems to be a bit of a weird thing when it comes to, like, how they actually got to set, and the sort of, like, the first impressions of the others, what I would be really curious about. But I believe we did see, like, they sort of, like, meet through friends and sort of, like, stuff like that. They need honesty to make this work, and I feel like there is a bit of honesty, but still for some reason doesn't necessarily work. Maybe they're not honest enough. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. I feel like the first confusing reading I've done in a while. I don't think I've ever had a reading that has stumped me for quite some time, from what I can remember anyway. So this was interesting. Definitely let me know what you guys think of this one, if you interpret this any differently. And of course, if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. Besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!